Hello, everyone. Time for the weekly prep. Now, we'll be sharing these publicly across all the socials. So if you're watching them there, come check out the Discord. We're going to be kicking off with Free Week, which is why we're going to be sharing this video and also all of our daily recaps as well. You don't need to provide any payment information. You just need to be a member. Everything's going to be unlocked for you there. So if you want to see what we do, go ahead and send me a DM or head over to the WAP and you can get that link to join for free. So we've already also done our macro top-down view. And now that we're going to start talking about the actual execution of our trades, we're going to set that aside into the back of the mind, and we're going to be very open-minded about the path that we take. Okay? We kind of have a rough analysis of where we'll be, but now it's time to actually dig into the price action and let that lead our execution when it comes to our actual day trading. All right? So, big things to take note of is that we've clearly got a bullet bearish set up here on the SPIX. Weekly has been bearish for some time now, basically since August, and now the daily is joining it once again. And we even got the monthly, which was starting to flag bullish, is now has this underlying bearish momentum to it. Okay. It's starting to get weak again. So we want to see if we can get a confluence here. And the major thing you want to see is if we can actually break this EMA, if we get a straight plummet through it, or if we don't and we kick off Monday with a bounce, or maybe that, maybe that bounce even comes later in the week, then we can come revisit the bottom of the wedge here. This is before futures open, so futures will tell us a lot more. But as of right now, crypto is open and crypto is clearly bearish. We've got some headlines, some stuff about the tariff news that's caught a slight bounce here. However, on these daily charts for both Bitcoin and Ethereum, bulls still very much in control. For Ethereum, honestly, for me to get long again, I need us over 4,500. For Bitcoin, for me to consider getting long again, we need over 1,800,000. So I'll be watching those. However, from what I'm seeing here, is still amazing bearish confluence, looking like we could crack the daily and weekly chart in tandem, which is, one of our best short setups from our playbook. So that's something to be mindful of. Now, when it comes to the tariff news across the headlines, I'm already kind of over it. I don't really care. As we said before, that was, headlines are never a necessity to this type of analysis we do. The chart tells all, and I think what traders need to be looking ahead to is that the fact that earnings is right around the corner. Okay, so we have ASML, we have TSM earnings coming up with the big banks as well, and there's been a lot of red flags and credit markets and as far as private markets go as well. Lots of kind of red flags popping up. Maybe this is when, the market starts to crack, starts to get more bearish, people start to pay more attention. So I'd keep an eye on Jeff. And then a big downstream effect of that, a major one that I'll be watching is also Carvana. Carvana, already big banks were not buying the debt from them. They couldn't unload all these, so they had to reach out to a family friend. And I'm sorry if the big banks don't want to touch it. I find it hard to imagine that a family friend's business is managing those losses very well. So we've already got a major crack on the chart. So we've broken structure. From here, I want to see a clean break of 326, or I want to see a back test that fails of about 347. And maybe this could creep up a little bit higher and just test this trend line and see that turn into resistance. Either way, when that fails, I'll be looking to try some short positions. Be mindful that, again, we have amazing bearish confluence here that's not quite confirmed on the weekly, but looks really strong. Structure's already broke, and so this weekly confirmation will probably have already missed a good amount of the gains by the time that gives the true confirmation here. So looks like a great setup though overall. Some other setups that we really like. Let me visit my list. We don't have a ton this week because I want to be mindful of the fact that, one, I'm writing this before futures come out, and two, there's going to be a lot of headlines and a lot of shifting of money. there's a good chance that we just can see a continuing of the unwinding. I highly doubt everyone got out of all of their leverage in one single day, considering the amount of leverage that was in the markets. So we're likely to see a continuation of that early in the week, especially if things are still perceived to be bearish. There was some quote unquote positive headlines, but honestly, I don't want to get into it, but I don't think it was anything new, honestly. But okay, so next on our list, though, for our short-term plays is HIMS. HIMS testing the bottom of this wedge. And again, this looks awful. It's pretty much already giving a bearish confirmation. We just need the structure to break. And on that structure break, I'm going to look for some 50 puts, basically under the low here, under 53, and look to see if we can catch a continuation for this one. This is a long-term positioning, so on that break, I will also get pretty aggressive in my long-term account. I probably won't buy puts there. I'll probably just sell some calls. It depends on how the premiums look, though, so we'll give an update on that if that moment comes, if or when. Another short I really like is Adobe. We actually do still have some swings here. We've made a lot of money on this one. I think the bull case here from a fundamental analysis is about as weak as it gets. Future blockbuster. I create lots of content, haven't used Adobe in over a year. There are so many free AI tools that are much faster, much easier to move, and much cheaper. There's no reason for you to use Adobe, in my opinion, and I make quite a bit of content, quite a bit different forms of it, and help other people make their content, and we don't, across none of that do I use Adobe at all. What was a monopoly is now just like a overpriced option that is overly complex. So, but enough about that noise. What we need is to let price lead, right? So, just putting it out there that I'm heavily biased. But we got a nice triangle set up here, and I'm really looking to see if we can crack 330. I mean, we've got a bunch of tests of this level here, and a bunch of suppression to the upside as well. Honestly, if you want to watch this for the upside, if you think that this is undervalued or a long opportunity, look for the break of the upside there for that triangle. But for me, I'm looking for the break to the downside. I want to try some 300 puts under 330. I think this would be a pretty violent reaction here. We've got some, two previous violent reactions that pretty much brought us all the way down to 274. So I'm going to try the 330s, fill those out. On that, the weekly was trying to recover, broke on Friday. Daily's already cracking as well, and I believe the monthly on this is also it's still clearly bearish. So we'll be looking to see if we can catch a continuation of the bearish trend on the major key level break for Adobe. And now, we got one more big focus for the week as well on QUBT. Running through some of the quantum names, I think quantum's going to be a great short contender if the market continues on its bearish trajectory. I think people are going to look, okay, what fundamentally makes the least amount of sense? QBTS and QUBT, I think, are top of that list for me. QUBT, though, has a more clean picture of bearishness, breaking a major trend line that used to be support. It's got, again, our momentum indicators have decent confluence here on the daily and weekly. So we're going to look to take some puts here. I'm actually going to feel out probably a small position just under 19 right here. A bit cleaner, is to look for a kind of a bounce here that tests the top, and then you could start to feel out a short here. I think you would want to size up under 1780. That's going to be a clear signal. You're going to be under your EMAs, and that's probably where selling starts accelerating for that name. And then we got some long positions. It's kind of hard to font for longs based on where the charts kind of ended. Bears completely in control on Friday. So even if there is some bounces, just like there's bounces on Bitcoin and Ethereum, be mindful of, these longer time frame charts and understand where the greater trend is at. Don't get too carried away, being too zoomed in on things. But I will be watching Cleveland Cliffs. We got a pretty big sell-off on Friday that caused us to go out and take some profits. I think we had some rolls that even just didn't work. But we've made a really good amount of money on this name. Actually, we took it on this 1228 breakout. And then we've rode it all the way up, held it as long as we could until Friday stopped this out. But we've got this just really nice back test just to the bullish EMA. This structure is a little barcoding. You know, the momentum indicators aren't the cleanest, but it's really clean on the price action here. And that's really what we want to see. The weekly still looks very healthy. RSIs can be full confirmations of higher highs. And even on the monthly, this is starting to look pretty good. You know, it would have been better if we could have got a nice continuation from there. But this is by no means straight up bearish. It's actually just still in its accumulation phase. You know, on those longer time frame charts. So I still really like this name to the upside, especially if we can get a really nice bounce off this key level. I might go ahead and just load right back into the 15s, maybe some 16s with some longer expirations if we do see that that theme kind of explode back to life. Another bullish position that play that I'll be keeping an eye on is MP. You know, this is these rare metals. Rare metals, it's their day in the sun. It's been their day in the sun. MP said I just screwed up the acronym on ID. Oh, I'm so old. Why can't I put this together? I'm just gonna say I don't give a fuck. I don't give IDGAF. Holy cow! I had to utilize every single brain cell to spit that out. Oh, that was embarrassing. Anyways, I think that MP looks really good here, especially with the defense it played on Friday. Of course, I think this is the main focal point. You know, the magnets are a huge. I mean, we've already made videos about this. We've already done a full newsletter about it. I don't want to ramble on about it. It's got amazing fundamentals. Government defending a monopoly, you know, domestic monopoly, and the name, it's, you know, it won't fail with that kind of support. So any minor dip on this thing is getting bought. It looks incredibly strong, and I want to continue to keep an eye on it. And that's just going to be my pick. You know, USAR looks really good, and then you also have, you know, companies in the peripherals, like we were even playing NVX or ALB. As well, just anything related to the metals or, you know, raw materials have been great. So that theme is still alive. These are going to be my main focuses for this week. And then on Tuesday evening, we'll likely do an update and kind of see where everything settles after this volatility spike. Be mindful, volatility is at 21. If we do see a continuation of the plunge, you know, 30 is totally on the table. If we just get a straight continuation that takes us right through this EMA. You know, we talked about that, you know, big level, 6,300, 6,400, kind of this kind of range right here is very big level to keep an eye on, honestly. So that might be a magnet. If you go straight there, VIX at 30 is totally possible. However, we're not really expecting, you know, like a straight crash that happens rapidly. We think this is going to be like an extended kind of noisy path to the downside as of right now. Not sure what news comes out. Not sure if the risks we have on our table are really even the ones that will matter in the markets. But, you know, that's not really what matters. OK, we don't really care about the headlines. We just want to see confirmations on the chart and we'll react to what we see. OK. So be open-minded about the path, kind of have in the back of your mind what our overall thesis is, but be open-minded about that path and about that day-to-day execution, all right? So hope you all have a good one. Good luck this week. It's going to be a good week. It's going to be a great week for trading. Anytime VIX is... Look, we did... what was that ATR move on SPY, honestly? So we did 439% of the ATR on Friday. You get a move like that and you free up all sorts of movement on the indexes and across the broad market. So, you know, as a day trader, just have an open mind about what path we're going to go and where the bounces could come and just let that price action move. Let it give it room to breathe on your overall thesis. Okay. Don't become dogmatic. You stay open-minded and you react to what you see. You're gonna make a lot of money this week because the high VIX, we're gonna see some price action moves, baby. Okay, it's gonna be really nice. All right, so It's going to be a good week. We're doing the free week. Check it out if you want. Y'all have a wonderful week. Good luck out there. God bless.